Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me, Derek Lane, your host for the Fast Lane. Studio audience, I appreciate you being here again tonight. Awesome. Hey, let's kick into a little bit of intro, shall we? Excellent. Thank you very much. Hey, listen, gang, tonight going to be shifting to a little bit of a lighter subject, but yet a heavy subject for a lot of people from time to time. And before we do that, I want to acknowledge the FastLanePodcast.com website. Check it out. A lot of articles there, some good information there, keys to and links to the podcast from different sources, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, SoundCloud, etc., etc. Anyway, tonight I want to talk about unemployment. What happens if you're suddenly faced with unemployment? Now, I know that a lot of us are self-employed and our success is going great. But that's not the case for everybody. And not everybody can be self-employed. A lot of people choose to work for, they're entrepreneurs. And for those that aren't familiar with the term entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is when you're on your own and you're making headway. Entrepreneur is when you've got the support of a company and you're making headway and you're doing great things. There's a lot of intriguing information out there about that and why it's good to be an entrepreneur. I'm not going to get into that tonight. The focus will be on unemployment. If you suddenly find yourself without a job, it's one of the most stressful times in your life. Most uncomfortable, awkward, where you've got to find yourself. And you can be depressed. I've not known anybody that hasn't lost a job where they weren't depressed. I've not known anybody that lost a job and was just totally ecstatic about it. I mean, unless it was just a real killer, my God, I'd rather die than do this job. But, generally they don't get fired, they quit. But sometimes people lose their jobs because not because of their performance, not because of anything directly related to them. It's whether it's financial. I can get somebody to do it less than you. We just want to move in a new direction. We feel like that. What you've done is great, but we can do more. Silly things get into employers' heads, and sometimes they're wooed by people outside that can promise things. Maybe they deliver, maybe they don't. I don't know. I've seen both cases. But anyway, unemployment it's a dark cloud. What do we do and how do we react? Tonight's subject. If you've ever found yourself in a position of unemployment, you've got bills to pay. You've set your life up, and everybody has bills to pay, whether it's utilities or car payment or what have you. That's just the way life works. So you can't mess around. You don't have the luxury of messing around. You need income. Well, the first thing you do is you file for unemployment insurance. Yeah, your pride may sting a little bit, but get over it. You need an income. You need money coming in. But the basis of finding a new job, and to make sure it doesn't turn out the same way, is to reflect on you and have just the most honest conversation you can with yourself as to why you're now unemployed. For varying reasons, people can, feel safe in their jobs and yet be blindsided with, a managerial decision that we're going in a different direction. There's a whole lot of things that comes into play. That's a different topic. I don't want to get into it. I think you understand that. But make sure. I would tell anybody, if you're gainfully employed, you're happily employed, and you this message is not for you, right? Wrong. This message is for you. If you work for a company and you're a celebrated employee, you're the cat's meow, this message is for you. It really is. Understand that at any given time, an owner, a manager, whoever's in charge can have, a direction they want to go in, and you don't fit into it. And you've done great. You've been the golden child forever, and then you get blindsided. If you think that you don't have to worry about this, you're wrong. You're wrong. But that's why I advocate that as a successful person, you make yourself invaluable. You do things that only you can do, and create a business of your own. If you're going to work for a company, make sure that you've got a contract. There are things you can do. But having said that, you find yourself now suddenly unemployed, and you didn't think in a million years that you would be. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? In our society, there's a limited few people that can be let go of a job and go, I don't care, I got enough money, I got walk-in money. Most of us need our income, right? I mean, I'm not pulling punches here. I'm not trying to fantasize and glorify the fact that we don't. We all do. We all need our income. We work and we strive to take that income and to turn it into investments. And, I've had the podcast before where we talk about, taking your income and turning it into investments. So one day you don't need to work. You can retire, and you can retire early and whatever. I get that. But let's say you're not there, and now you're faced with, I don't have a job. The most stressful time in your life. And you got to face your friends and your family. And now you got a job hunt. You got to search. It's your dignity is dinged. Your esteem is dinged. Your mentality takes a hit. What did I do wrong? Oh my God, I thought it was great, but evidently not. You start to doubt yourself. It's understand this. It's all part of a natural course. Okay, it's all part of a natural course to think these things. But then again, reflect on your job that you had. Reflect on what you would do different in the job visualize the job that you want. Sometimes being let go is a godsend. Sometimes being let go puts you on a path to a greater bliss, to something that you don't see now that later turns out to be one of the greatest things ever. Had I not been let go from that position, I would have never found this great opportunity. I think I was reading a story the other day about Phoebe, what's her name? The girl from Friends that played Phoebe, Lisa Kudrow. And, she was cast in Frasier, and I don't know, maybe she did some episodes, I don't know. And that, this was her big break. And she was then terminated from the show and devastated. That her big break turned out to be a big bust. And, she was like a lot of starving artists starting out. You look forward to your big break, and when it comes and then it busts, it's very distractful. And she went through a series of interviews and auditions and what have you. And then, as you well know, that she was cast in Friends, and the rest is history. But she, her acknowledgement was that she didn't understand why she was let go. Her big break. It was devastating. After she landed Friends, we're going through a few, like say, turn downs, and then found Friends. She understood. She said, I totally understand why it didn't work there. Because I would not have been able to do my greatest work and find the family that I had with the cast and crew of Friends. Anyway, I read that. It was kind of interesting. You can look it up if you like, but it just kind of plays into what I'm talking about as far as unemployment. Sometimes things happen for a reason. Usually they happen for a reason. Okay, but if you found yourself in an unemployment situation, work with your insurance, work with anybody that you have to. Call everybody immediately that that you've got credit with, and let them know that any levity that they could allow you would be appreciated in your situation. Don't let people, if you get into a bind financially, don't that's the worst thing you can do. Acknowledge everything up front. That's what successful people do. Hey, look, didn't expect this, but it happened. And cut all your expenses. Cut your cable off, cut your dry cleaning bill off, cut your whatever it is. Your paper service. Cut everything out. Get rid of the crap that is not necessarily important to you. The necessities in life, I should say. Cut all expenses. Everything. Don't let things compound. Okay? Cut those. Quickly work up a budget. Hopefully, if you've listened to my podcast and you understand the value of budgeting and money, you will have a degree of savings, and budget those savings. And how long, if you're gainfully employed, I would say